Welcome to hearing conservation training provided by the Office of Environmental Health, Safety, and Emergency Management's Hearing Conservation Program. I certainly hope you can hear me now. In order for us to continue to hear the sounds that we enjoy hearing today, we need to start today taking care of whatever level of hearing we have. Now, we may already have some hearing loss. That's okay. We still need to take care of whatever level of hearing we have so we can continue to hear at least that well. I can't imagine not being able to hear the birds in the spring. That is one of the most beautiful sounds. Or your children, or people talking, whether you want to hear them or not, having that ability to choose. A world without music, in my opinion, would be a sad, sad place. So if we want to continue to hear these sounds that we enjoy, or even some that we don't, we need to start today taking care of our hearing. The way we do that is to wear hearing protection when we're going to be overexposed to loud noises that could damage our hearing. It's a simple step we could take that would take care of our precious sense of hearing. Let's talk a little bit about how we hear. Well, sounds are just vibrations in the air. They enter our outer ear, follow our ear canal, to our eardrums, small ear bones, to our cochlea. Cochlea is very important. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And then to our hearing nerve in the brain. This is a cochlea. It's our snail-shaped organ in our inner ear. And it has 2 rows of hair cells. When we're born, we are born with 30+ thousand of these hair cells. Now, these hair cells are extremely important. What they do is turn those vibrations that's in the air into the sounds that we hear. And without the hair cells, we don't get to hear the sounds. We just have vibrations floating around in our inner ear. I want to give you a little example. Let's say we have a field of grass and we walk in one particular area in that grass over and over. Well, for a while, grass is resilient. It's just going to pop back up. But if we continue over and over to walk in that same area, we are going to get a muddy path. Because the grass is not going to come back up. It's going to be dead and gone, and we are going to have a muddy path. Now, let's compare that to our cochlea. If we overexpose ourselves to loud noises without protection, for the first little while, unless it's so loud that it's an instant noise-induced hearing loss, for the first while, those hairs, they'll just kind of sway and sway back. But after a while, if we continue to overexpose ourselves without protection, those hair cells are going to break off. Instead of swaying back, they're going to break off. Now, let's go back to our field of grass. Now, where we've got that muddy path, we can take grass seed and we can plant grass, and we can stay off of that area, and that grass is going to come back up, and after a while we're not going to even know we had a path there. Back to our cochlea. Once those hair cells are broken off, they're gone. We can't replant them. They're not going to grow back. That's it. And when they're gone, like I said, they're what turns those vibrations into the sounds we hear. So without those hair cells, we don't hear sounds. We want to take care of our hair cells. We want to keep them. And we do that by wearing hearing protection when we're overexposed to loud noises. I want to show you examples of healthy versus damaged cochlea. On the top is a beautiful cochlea. It's perfect. On the bottom, on the other hand, is one that's severely damaged. Whoever had this cochlea didn't hear very much of anything at all, because as you can see, it's bald. The hair cells are gone. We want our cochlea to look like the top one. And in order to do that, we need to wear hearing protection where we're going to be overexposed to loud noises. Everyday noises we don't think much about could cause us to have a noise-induced hearing loss. One dog barking's probably not going to do it, but let's say we were in a kennel and there's 100 of them. They were all excited barking at one time. Well, that might be a problem. Machinery we use to work with, chores, or to play with, recreation, whatever we use. You know, lots of the machinery that we're exposed to is loud. And this one is particularly concerning to me because not only is a leaf blower loud, but it's on the person's back, right at their ears. That is never, ever a good idea without wearing hearing protection. You don't want something that loud right at your ears without protection. It could definitely give you a noise-induced hearing loss. And a boom box up on your shoulder right at your ear is never ever a good idea. We want to block ourselves from noises, not amplify them right out our ears. 1 in 10 Americans have a hearing loss. I think that number is just a little bit low, but okay, we'll go with that. Overexposure to loud noise is the most common cause. That's not the only thing that can cause you to have a hearing loss, but it is the most common cause. Other things could be like earwax blockage, that could cause you to have a hearing loss. Frequent ear infections, some medical diseases, some medications. As we get older, we lose our sense of hearing. Head trauma. And there are some chemicals that are ototoxic and can cause us to have a hearing loss. But the most common cause is overexposure to loud noise, and that's the one thing we can do something about. We can protect ourselves. Most of the time, hearing loss from loud noises happen over a period of time, and we don't really even realize it. We don't know that we're not hearing like we once did. We might realize it when we're constantly asking people what they said, or to speak up, or turning up volume on stuff. But for a while, we probably won't even realize that we've got a hearing loss. Some sounds can be deafening at one time, and an example of that would be firearms. Some firearms, depending on the firearm, could be upwards 160 decibels. That is loud, and it could cause a permanent noise-induced hearing loss. So if you're going to be around where firearms are being discharged, whether you're the one that's shooting them or somebody else is, please wear hearing protection. Take care of yourself. One time could be all that it takes. Over a period of time, if you're overexposed to loud noises without protection, you will get a hearing loss. It's not maybe, it's I might get away with it. If you are overexposed without protection, you will end up with a noise-induced hearing loss if you continually do it.
1, 2, 3, 4,
This
5,
is a
6,
video.
7.
It's an old video, but it shows the different stages of hearing, and I think it's good
You owe me
information.
$300. Get it up?
Fred, take it easy. It's only a game.
Wilma, I'm just like them big tycoons. I play to win. Now, Barney, pay up or get out of the game.
Put your books in. That's one down and two to go. Betty, it's your turn.
I don't have any more money either. You got it all.
Then I'll take the mortgage on your open call.
Well, come on, take the bank. Well, you don't just sit there like a dummy. I will not have you talking that way to our guests. Come on, Barney. I think we better go home.
I don't know about you, but when it got past mild, I had trouble hearing, and when it got severe, it just sounds like somebody's talking in a big old barrel of water. I couldn't understand anything they were saying. I don't want to be there, and I'm sure you don't either. So let's protect our hearing. Let's wear hearing protection. Let's talk a little bit about the effects of a hearing loss. Self-explanatory. Yes, you can't hear, or not hear as well as you did, and that makes it difficult understanding your co-workers or your boss or your family. You feel left out in a group, frustrated when you try to talk to other people because you don't understand what they're saying, and you might feel embarrassed or dumb or stupid. But besides those things, it could affect your blood pressure, your metabolism, your kidneys. So there's other things besides just having a hearing loss. There are other medical effects in your body that go along with a hearing loss. Now let's talk a little bit about earbuds. Now, lots of people love music, and I'm one of them. And there's nothing wrong with listening to music. There's nothing wrong with listening to music by having in earbuds, as long as you do it at a reasonable volume. You can listen to earbuds 60% volume 24 hours a day, and it's not going to hurt you. When you increase that volume, you run the risk of having a noise-induced hearing loss if you don't monitor the time that you're listening to it. Like 70%, 6 hours. After 6 hours, you run the risk of a noise-induced hearing loss. When you go up to 100%, 5 minutes is all it takes to have a permanent noise-induced hearing loss. 5 minutes. Depending on the song, that's 1 to 2 songs max. So please take care of yourself by listening at a reasonable volume. And if you have children or friends or loved ones who like to use earbuds, tell them, let them know that you could get a permanent noise-induced hearing loss by listening to your music if you're not careful with the volume. This is just a little bit of data. This is from the private industry, and this is from the year 2011. Out of all the injuries that were reported, 11.8% of those were hearing loss. That's a lot of people. That's a big percentage. And you know what? I think that percentage is low, because I think that most, I'd say at least, I don't know, half of the people who have a hearing loss probably never report it. It never gets reported. So that number would be a lot larger, I believe, if all of the hearing loss was reported. These were people going to work trying to make a living, and in doing so, they lost part of their sense of hearing. ASU does not want you in that number. You will be provided hearing protection to wear, but it's up to you to wear it. Let's don't be part of this number. What's ASU going to do about occupational noise-induced hearing loss? Well, we follow the OSHA Occupational Noise Exposure Standard 1910-95, and we have a hearing conservation program. Well, what does that mean? We do a noise level assessment to determine what noise levels you're exposed to. How are we going to do that? Well, there's a couple of different ways we can do that. We can do it with a noise level meter, and we can do area monitoring. This is good for equipment and things like that, because what it does is it gives us a reading of an exact noise at an exact time. Just that noise at that time. And like I said, this is good for machinery and stuff like that. Or there's a dosimeter that we could place on the person, and they could wear that their entire work shift. And what the dosimeter will do, it will capture all the noises that employee is exposed to during their work shift, and it will calculate it out to a time-weighted average. What's time-weighted average? Time-weighted average is just that. It's all the noises that you're exposed to, all the decibel levels that you're exposed to in an entire shift, and it's calculated out together to see what the average of your exposure is for that work shift. OSHA's action limit is 85 decibels time-weighted average. So when you get to 85 and above, then that's when you would be placed in the hearing conservation program. So which one will we use? Like if we use the noise level meter, then we could manually calculate out the different exposures to the different noise during a shift or during a day. Or we could use the dosimeter, or there have been times when I've chosen to use both. An example of that would be like Legends, concerts at Legends, and football games. So we may use one, the other, or both, depending on the situation. This is just an example of different decibel readings. Call of the Blue Whale, 188 decibels. Wow. When I read that, I was thinking, gosh, that's right at sound wave, shock wave levels. And the other thing is, how did they measure this? And I wonder how far away you'd have to be from them not to get a noise-induced hearing loss. Safety airbag, 170 decibels. They are going to protect us from breaking our neck or worse, but they're certainly going to be loud in doing so. A Magnum 357, 165 decibels. that could be an instant noise-induced hearing loss without protection. Cap guns, 155 decibels. You know, that's louder than a fighter jet launch. Firecrackers, 145 decibels. Lots of us enjoy fireworks, and there's not a thing in the world wrong with that. But if you're going to be close enough to where the noise is going to be very loud on you, you need to be wearing hearing protection, because we'd rather see them than hear them necessarily, and certainly don't want to have a noise-induced hearing loss. I wanted to give you an example of some different decibel level readings from noise level assessments here on campus at ASU. We have employees who are exposed to loud decibel levels. The radial arm saw, 102.7. Hammering on an anvil, 114. Angle metal disc grinder, 101.5. Joiner, 101.6. Handheld jigsaw, 104.7. Concert at Legends, and this is just one of the readings from there, is 111.1, which is very loud. Sawzall, 99.9. Kivat vacuum, 98.2. Backpack vacuum. Backpack's bad word because it's right there at your ear. 102.1, which is very loud. Steel weed eater, 95.9. Chainsaw, 104.8. Dish room at Sanford Commons, 88.2. Paint booth, 89.2. Palm sander, 89.6. One of the peak readings at one of the football games at Kidd Brewer, 123.3, which is very loud. Rock saw, 108.1. Grinder, 115.1. Tire changer at Motorpool, 122.2. Backpack, bad word, snowblower, 113. Table saw, 114.7. So, as you can see right here on our campus, we have some loud decibel level readings. If noise levels are determined to be 85 decibels time weighted average or above, we see what we can do to reduce the noise you're exposed to by either reducing the amount of time that you are exposed or engineering controls, separating you from that noise source. Sometimes that can be done, like in the instance of generators or something like that, but lots of times in order for you to be able to do your job, you have to be physically close to the noise source. It wouldn't be possible to separate you from the noise. And sometimes it's just not, it costs too much. There would be no way to enclose the noise sources. And when engineering controls are not feasible, then you'll place in the hearing conservation program. What does that mean? Well, you'll be provided hearing protection to wear from your department, and you'll need to wear that hearing protection whenever you're going to be around 85 or above decibels. So anywhere that it's been determined to be 85 decibels or above, you need to wear your hearing protection. And each year you will have an audiogram, or as we call it, a hearing test. It's not a test. You don't pass or fail. It's just a written record of what your current hearing levels are. They're very important. Your baseline, your beginning hearing audiogram gives you something to compare the next year to. And the next year when you go have your audiogram, then it's compared back to the previous year. And if there's a threshold shift, which means your hearing has become worse for whatever reason, then the audiologist will tell you at that time. And then you can work to see what you can do to correct it and stop it from getting any worse. So it's very important you go to your audiogram or hearing test each year. You'll also be required to do annual hearing conservation training. This is just trivia. The first audiometer was developed in the U.S. in the 1930s. And audiograms just test a range of sounds from low to high. They usually start at 500 hertz, and that's about mid-scale of a piano, and they go to 8,000, which is just a little bit above the highest note a piano can play. This is just an audiogram hearing threshold scale. I wanted you to see when you get a copy of your audiogram or when you look at it online in the training record system. If you see minus 10 to 25 decibels, and that's normal, and when it gets beyond that, then it ranges from mild to profound hearing loss. So 26 to 40 is mild, and then when you get to 71 to 90, you're at severe, and 91 to 100 is profound. We should have administrative controls, rules, signs and stuff out in areas that we know are loud and that people would need hearing protection. I know that doesn't always happen, but we should. I touched on this briefly earlier, but I want to talk to you just a little bit more about chemicals that can cause a hearing loss. Now, I'm not going to say that they absolutely will. I'm just saying that there is data to say that they can. And these chemicals are organic solvents, heavy metals, or asphyxiants. So if you work with these chemicals, you need to wear hearing protection just to make sure you don't get a hearing loss from them. What kind of hearing protection do I need? Well, the choice is yours from whatever you have to choose from, as long as it has the correct NRR. What's NRR? Noise reduction rating. What does that mean? That is the amount of decibels that hearing protection will reduce the decibel level that you're in. Example would be, let's say you're in 95 decibels. You want to bring it down below 85. 85's OSHA action level. So we want to go below 85, we'll go to 84, that's 11 NRR. Except that OSHA says that these hearing protection devices are tested in a perfect environment, and we don't work in a perfect environment. You know what? OSHA's right. So in order to make up for that imperfection, OSHA says we need to add 7 to that. So we said we needed 11. We're going to add the 7, and so we would need 18 NRR rated hearing protectors. How do I know what the NRR is? It should be clearly stated on the packaging that your hearing protection comes in. If it's not, then I would contact the company or look it up online or something to find out, but it's supposed to be clearly stated. There are all kinds of hearing protectors. There's multiple kinds of ear muffs. These are examples of banded semi-insert earplugs. They're kind of cool. Some of them just, especially the pod ones, they just kind of hang out and closing off your ear canal without entering it, and they just kind of hang out there. I like them. Earplugs. So many kinds of earplugs. The choices, there's just so many different kinds of earplugs. There's the classic ones, foamies. There are corded, there are uncorded, there are push-in, there are flanged. They're just basically whatever you're going to be doing, there's some kind of hearing protection that would protect you with whatever you're going to be doing, and there are usually lots of different choices in styles. So you can find something that suits you as much as hearing protection could suit anybody, I guess. I want to talk to you a little bit about electronic hearing protection devices. I like these a lot, especially the musicians' earplugs. Those are wonderful for people who are in music environments or something similar. The reason being is what they do, unlike the foamies, like the foamy hearing protectors, they are going to block and muffle the sounds, the frequencies. They're going to block and muffle them all. And that's good. That's what they're supposed to do. They're doing their job. People with machinery and stuff like that, they don't want to hear it, don't need to hear it. Okay? But if you want to listen to music, you don't want it muffled out. You want to hear all those frequencies. And what musicians' earplugs do is like turning down the volume on the radio. You can still hear all those frequencies, but it's just at a lower volume. So they're wonderful. The sport electronic earmuffs are good for folks who maybe like to hunt. Let's say you're in the woods hunting deer or turkey. And if you have these earmuffs on, they actually amplify, so you can hear your prey walking better than you could without it. They also have a jack in them where you can plug in your phone or radio or whatever. But when that gunshot goes off, they kick in and they protect you until that noise is gone, and then you're back to being amplified and being able to hear better than you could without them. So they're pretty cool. And then sonic defenders, they're good for people who need hearing protection, but they also need to be able to hear conversation or what's going on around them. A good example is law enforcement or folks at Legion. And they also have a port where you can plug in a radio, like if you're a person who has to carry a two-way radio to talk or hear other people. And they allow you to hear conversation and kick in and protect you when you need it. So there's all kinds of hearing protection. Flanged earplugs are good. They're usually a little bit more comfortable than the foamy stuff. They fit in your ear just a little bit easier and a little bit better. So from whatever choices you have, like I said, the choice is yours as long as you have the correct noise reduction rating. The thing that I would ask you to do, though, is to inspect your hearing protection before you either put it on or in your ear. I do not ever recommend anybody sharing hearing protection. However, I know that it happens. And if this is something that you do, please clean the hearing protection before you put it on or in your ears. You don't want to run the risk of getting an ear infection. You need to clean it before you put it on or in your ears. Also, if they are hard or cracked, you need to throw them out and get new ones. If they can't be cleaned, if they're so dirty and they're not going to come clean, throw them out and get a new pair. And our pets are exposed to the same noises that we are if we take them along with us to noisy environments. And there is hearing protection for animals. This video is going to show us how to correctly put in foam earplugs.
with cleat.
And this is an example of when you have them properly put in. When you have them properly put in, they're not going to stick out past that little flap on the front of your ear. If they do, then you need to take them out and reinsert them. And this is just some data showing that the technique you use to put your hearing protection in makes a difference in the percentage of protection you're going to get. So if you don't do anything, you just stuff them in your ear, you're going to get a lower percentage of protection than you would if you did the roll, pull, and hold all three. So it makes a difference. Your technique makes a difference. Hearing protection can absolutely help save your sense of hearing, but they're not going to do a thing for you if you never wear them. So you have to use it before it's going to work. Now, you might not always know when you need hearing protection, and this is a good rule of thumb. It's not concrete or infallible, it's just a good rule of thumb. If you're standing about arm's length from somebody and you have to raise your voice for them to be able to hear you, if you're going to be in that environment long, you and them likely need hearing protection. You need to take care of yourself off of the job too. You can be the perfect employee and wear your hearing protection every single day when you're at work, every time you're exposed. You can go home and you can be overexposed to loud noises without protection, and the truth is you're going to get the same hearing loss that you would have got had you not protected yourself at work. So no matter where you are, please take care of yourself. Wear your hearing protection. Noise-induced hearing loss is often painless. Not always. Sometimes it's painful right then, but it's often painless. It's progressive. That's a bad word. Permanent. It's even worse. But you know what? It's preventable. You can do something about it. You can wear your hearing protection. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather put hearing protection in when I knew that I needed it than to have to depend on hearing aids or something like that before it was time for me to have to do that. You know, hearing aids, it's wonderful that there are such things, but it's not like hearing like you would from your own ear. And they're not all that comfortable. And you would have to wear them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Or you wouldn't hear the phone ringing at night, or if somebody was trying to come in at night. So let's try not to go there before we have to. Just wear our hearing protection when we know we need it. Protecting your sense of hearing just plain makes sense. It's up to you. You know, you can choose to take care of your hearing, but it's up to you. If you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your friends and family. They want to communicate with you. They want you to be able to hear what they have to say to you. If you have questions, if you would like help with knowing how to put your hearing protection in, or if you have general questions, if there's any way that we could be of help to you, please call the Office of Environmental Health, Safety, Emergency Management. Ask for the Hearing Conservation Program Manager. The main office number is 262-4008. We'll be happy to help any way we can. And you can also look at our site at safety.appstate.edu. Thank you very much for attending hearing conservation training today.